Hey folks, I'm here again doing the thing with the story behind the story. I have been going through my backlist, and one of the interesting things about having a 65 book backlist, it spans 18 years as opposed to some of the new breeds who are writing really fast and maybe not putting out the quality. And yeah, I just said that and I meant it. Is that you remember, like I told you guys about, getting deep and real and personal with why the story was written in the first place, and some of the memories that I have are really pretty unique and pretty sweet. I'm going to take you guys back a little bit with Echo's Odyssey and the first time I wrote a fairy into a story, or even the Kingdom of Fairy for that matter. Having done as much research as I could at the time, all the websites were like Google and Alta Vista and Excite, and Google wasn't even a thing at the time. I mean, I know they've been around for a while. I've read their financials for fun, but it wasn't the big search engine at the time. So you still had like GeoCities and that sort of thing when I wrote this story. And I want to say I want to tell you I was still in Texas when I wrote this. I don't have the original copy or even the original manuscript anymore. It's not on my laptop. It's on another machine somewhere, if I even have a copy at all. Or my publisher has a copy and I need to get a copy from her, one of the two. But I wrote this, I'm pretty sure I wrote this at the end of my stay in Texas, or I wrote it at the first couple of months of being in California. And I wrote a menage, sort of. I don't remember how this whole thing worked out at the end, because I haven't read the book in almost 20 years. But I wrote this story where the character, I can tell you the anime, you know what, it was California, and here's why I know. Because I wrote this and based the main character off of Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho. Because I really liked Hiei's character at the time. I liked that he was this deep, dark demon character. I thought, what if you put him in the body of a fae or a fairy, and then you give him something to balance him out? And before I've ever considered my primary relationship, when I was strictly monogamous, to balance me out, I always had friends. I had a best friend who we reconnected when I got back to Houston after being in Dallas for a couple of years. And I missed her. I had a crush on her in high school and all through middle school and shit, because she was just really pretty. And I like girls a lot. Well, anyway, Hiei, the character from Yu Yu Hakusho, needed balance, and I didn't think that Kurama was the type of balance he needed, just because I'm not wired that way. I knew there was plenty of that fucking fan fiction out there, but whatever, right? Well, anyway, so I thought, okay, we'll give him a female, but we'll give him a mate too. And how did this thing work out? I'm trying to figure that out. Looking at the actual author's note, and I can tell you that I started talking about the concept of failure and how failure spurs us on to continue going. And I'm trying to remember where. Oh, you know what it was? Serenissa was an ex, and my character Echo was also a hitman for the Fae, and he did a bunch of bad things to do the right thing, meaning, like, I want to say Dexter. Wasn't Dexter the one who was a serial killer, but he only killed, like, drug dealers and pedophiles and shit like that? That's kind of what Echo was doing, only for the state. Because I kept the whole theme in there about the state of fairy being, well, it's a kingdom, really, so you gotta do what they say. There is no real choice there. Well, anyway, I'm starting the novel off and looking through this, and I mentioned, that Serenus is going to be forced to marry someone who's a bad guy. And I then mentioned the best friend, and actually I have a theory, while I'm scrolling through this, I have a theory that I wrote a combination of myself and my best friend still to this day into the same novel. I just gave her my name to not dox her, since doxing wasn't a thing at the time anyway. I made her look just the same, only a little more a little more worldly because she's going to be fairy. So a little more otherworldly. I'm sorry. Um, that is the first time I wrote her into a novel of any kind. And Echo's Odyssey, Sizzler Editions started off letting novels come out at 30,000 words or more, and a lot of writers at the time who were putting out new material were able to write faster stories. Faster stories than I could, because I had obligations to my previous I was engaged to ex, and then I moved to California and had obligations to what I refer to as my actual ex, because we were together for so long. And god damn it, seems like I'm talking about her a lot too. But she was an integral part of my career for the majority of my 18 years. 12 years we were together, so she's gonna come up a lot, I guess. Anyway, I got to write this scene with my best friend in here, and we've never had a relationship outside of this. I was too stupid. Growing up, I wouldn't call. I would call her on her birthday to wish her happy birthday, and all she would say was, "Why aren't you here at my party?" So you didn't tell me. Well, I'm telling you now. Get your ass here. So, okay, yes, ma'am. I'm pretty sure she knew I had a crush on her. Sorry, I'm still batching these, and it's 89 in here now, I think, and I'm sucking down the water. Anyway, I'm sure she knew, because I ended up, I had this thing I called a coffee table book that I wrote that was just random musings and random, like, epiphanies coupled with a bunch of really fucked up bullshit. I want to give you one right now, but I know better about that, so I'm not going to give it to you. It involves a particular hashtag. Anyway, I did that when I was in my high school years, and a lot of the things in there, when I wanted to give what I considered the reader a breather or a breath of fresh air, but not be offensive or edgy for a 15-year-old, I mentioned probably my undying and unyielding love for this woman. And I now know it was, I wouldn't say misplaced love. I would say it was, what would I say about that? Well, point is, we didn't get married, so there you go. And she'd been there for me as a young adult when some of the shit hit the fan for me in a capacity that showed me that there was no love lost. We had each other. Yeah, she had the husband and the kids and the other friends and whatnot, but I was always going to be there for her, and she knew that, and she's always going to be there for me. I can call her today and talk to her if I really, like, if I'm in that fucking shit headspace that I've been in for a couple of weeks, and I remember to call her, I can call her. And I wanted to give, this is going to be a common theme, by the way, for a lot of my work, I wanted to give her a happy ending. It's not quite the happy ending, and I've still never given her her own, like, novel, because this novel is really Echo and Serenissa's, and I don't know if I created a royal triad. Is this the last story in the book? I'm looking real quick. No, I did. I made a royal triad, apparently. Wow, I'll be damned. Okay, so yeah, she did not get a full-length novel, and she still hasn't gotten a full-length novel. She's gotten to be part of a triad in Echo's Odyssey, and unrelated, I'm not going to say who it is, because I'm about to tell you why the second thing got written. The second thing is published by Decadent Publishing. I'm looking for the damn title now, because I haven't looked at it in years. Not that one. Not that one. It's one of the... Oh, damn it. Decadent Publishing has a couple of different lines that are really, really well, or have done really well for them. And I've got stories in the One Night Stand series, but this is not one of those. This is... there it is. Trying to find the The Edge. So the Edge was a concept that Decadent came up with for like 5,000 word short erotica pieces. And one day said best friend and I were talking about a fantasy, and I said, you know I'm going to write this down and make it a story of some sort. She told me that on purpose, I'm pretty sure. And I've made no bones about the fact that I will take anything out of my life. It is all fodder. Because you can't give me something and be like, I can't do that now. You can't do that to an artist. You are effectively cucking an artist if you do that shit, and that's not cool. So she got this menage, and I wrote this thing. How did I do that? Oh, you know what it was? I wrote this for Sizzler editions initially, and here's the secret that no one else is going to find out about, and why I'm not going to publish this on YouTube too loudly. Shh! Don't tell anybody. I have to whisper so that the rest of the world can't hear. This short story originally appeared in a collection in Sizzler Editions, and then I revamped it for Decadent Publishing. They never knew. I just changed a few scenes around. So, you have this story that I wrote, again, not a full-length novel. I'm actually doing a bit with the whispering. I stole that bit from AP and Ghastly, Gulf City. Go check them out on YouTube if you have... if you know that sometimes shit's just jokes, go check them out. Also, the Gulf City cartoon is pretty fresh. But yeah, I'll admit I stole that bit. Anyway, so yeah, she's got no full-length novel of her own. Am I ever going to do one for her? I don't know. But she told me the fantasy, that got to be Treasure's Gift in the Edge series. It's book number 20, as a matter of fact. And I'll even pull up the scenario, the synopsis, because it's one of my most played out fantasies in my head because of how I used to work in real estate and in general. So the blurb is, when Mark pops up on a work visit to Houston, the lovely and curvaceous Treasure not only plans to make his fantasies come true, but ups the ante by adding an equally delicious friend to the mix. Can Mark resist Treasure's temptation, or will two women double his pleasure? I must have been out of my mind when I wrote that blurb. Also, incidentally, I didn't know this until after the short thing was published through Decadent, that I apparently had a friend named Treasure. She's out in this side of the country, that's all I'm going to say. There you have it. That's 3 of these. I'm going to put you'll see the original cover for Treasure's Gift on this, as well as the cover that is up on Amazon, because Amazon sucks it. She got her happy endings. I got to write my first Faye story. I don't know why I didn't stay in that genre longer, honestly, but it is what it is. So, for my people catching this on Patreon, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Every little contribution makes this possible for me to do, and makes it possible for me to actually spend a day batching these recordings to talk to you about the story behind the story. If you're catching this on YouTube, I appreciate you. If you want to give something out of your dollar, I've got a backlist at Amazon. Link is in the description below. And if you want to support me a little longer term, but maybe don't read the kind of material I write, or don't read all the material I write, since my career does span everything from contemporary to BDSM and paranormal, Patreon.com. The link again is down below, and even your $2 makes a difference. Like I said before, at the very least, that's MARTA fare to get to my side hustle. I don't have anything else to say. I don't have a catchphrase like they do at Gulf City. Oh, you know what? I've been saying Shadowlay on my videos. So I guess I'll just do that. Thank you once again, and Shadowlay.